Hi everyone, this is Lauren with Verivest, and today we're meeting with Mark Mckeller and Britt Jennings from the Bedrock Fund. Welcome, guys.
Hi, thanks, Lauren.
Yeah, we're really excited to chat with you today. So I'd love to hop right in and just hear a little bit about how you ended up where you are today and tell us a little of your origin story.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. I'll start. Mark Mckeller, I've been a real estate investor, professional real estate investor for over 20 years now, 21 years. I've been part of an organization some of you might know, Homevestors. It's the We Buy Ugly Houses company. We're a national franchise of home buyers, and I've bought over 800 houses in that time period. I have my partner in my investment business, and we've kept over half of those for rental properties. So we've done a lot of investing, and being part of that organization and knowing a lot of other professional investors personally, over 1,000 of them, it became clear to me over the years that there was a real need for the top echelon of that group, the high net worth people that had a lot of experience, to be able to get a lending product to buy their fix and flip property, to buy their rental properties, some short-term financing for them that was a little easier to get than the traditional investor. This upper echelon of borrowers isn't really paid attention to as well by traditional investors, lending companies, as I think they should be. So I saw an opportunity there to create a fund to service that need. I've got the real estate experience. I've bought a lot of houses. I've also underwritten a lot of loans as part of that Homevestors organization over the years. But I don't have the money management experience or the finance experience. But I knew somebody who did, and that was Britt Jennings. Britt and I have been friends for a long time, for over 20 years. He's handled my financial affairs that whole time, so I knew him and trusted him. So I approached Britt and said, "Hey, we should start a lending fund to service this need," and that's how we got started. Britt?
Yeah, so typically as a CPA, we're very conservative. I've been in public accounting for over 30 years. So typically when people come to me, I will typically say no to everything. This is too scary, don't do it. And so I say, well, but this is an interesting concept, Mark. So let me ask my clients, would they be willing to invest in a fund like what you're proposing? And so, I got three questions that the universe would ask. They'd say, what's the security? Is my money safe? It's got to be safe for me to invest. What's the liquidity? Because you're talking real estate, so is it something I've got to invest for 10 years in? I'm not interested in that. And what are you going to pay me? So those are the questions that I knew if we could get answers to that they would accept, then this would be a successful fund. So from the investor side, I said, Mark, this is what an investor, at least at my firm, would need in order for this to be successful. Can we do this? And so Mark shakes his head and says, of course we can. So I said, okay, let's try to see if we can't put this together.
That's great.
And we did.
Yeah.
And we put together about a $10 million fund right away. And for the last 2.5 years, we've been lending money to that very top echelon group. And now we're ready to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. I love how you guys have mended your two backgrounds together. That's really great. So I'd love to hear how you source deal flow and kind of what your acquisition strategy is.
Yeah, our acquisition strategy is to target these very high echelon, high net worth individuals that need some short-term financing for their fix and flips or for their rental acquisitions. We will fund their initial purchases, and then they typically either repair the houses and sell them and pay us off quickly, or they refi into a long-term loan. We get those houses directly from the franchisees at Homevestors of America. We only go to the people that we know have a lot of experience in the business, that are buying houses that have a lot of equity in them. So we're very selective about who we loan to, and we have that very specific niche of people that we know well. I know my borrowers. I've known them for a long time, and we select them specifically because of their experience, and they just don't. They don't default on loans.
Yeah, geographically, we try to stay in the southeast part. us.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was just about to ask kind of what your key markets are that you operate in.
Yeah, and that is the key market for us in that area.
Yeah. And why would you say kind of in that region?
It's an area that we know well. I'm from Atlanta, and that's been here my whole life, and so I feel comfortable with it. And again, my role in this is really playing the advocate for the investor. If I'm not comfortable, then how do I convince another person to invest in it? So it's just out of comfort. And that area I think is an area that has a lot of growth potential.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in Atlanta, I feel like it's growing at such a rapid pace within the last decade, with so many industries coming there as well too. So it's a great market. And what would you kind of say is your investment philosophy? How do you determine whether a deal is worth doing?
That's a good question. Our philosophy is risk mitigation. And, Britt just mentioned something important. Locale is important to us for that. We tend to stay in the Southeast, the Southwest. We stay in places where we know we have established investors who are buying houses at deep discounts in markets that we know predictably how they perform because we've done a lot of business in those markets. So we don't like to take risks. So our philosophy is to make sure that the product has a lot of equity in it and that the borrower is somebody that is, a experienced high net worth individual that we don't have to be concerned is going to have a problem paying a loan.
Right. Yeah. And, you kind of touched on risk mitigation a little bit, but can you elaborate a little bit more on how you generate value once you've made an investment? Kind of how do you determine that you get a return of and on capital?
Well, from the investor standpoint, we've made this really simple. So that's a key that I had that I wanted to be able to say to the client, you sold a business and you've got $1 million you want to invest. We want to say that okay, we're going to pay you a fixed amount, 7% return. Over the course of a year, you're going to make $70,000. That's $5,833 a month. So for the investor standpoint, this is without a doubt a consistent treatment that they're not going to have to speculate on what we're doing. They know what they're getting.
Yeah, that's what we're after. A reliable, consistent return for the investor. They know what they're going to get every year, and they know that we're investing their money in product that has very low risk. So relative to most fix and flip companies that may do business with a little less margin in the deals, or maybe with investors with a little less experience, that may give a little more risk. With what we're doing, there's not as much risk. So paying that consistent return is something that we're comfortable doing.
Yeah. Absolutely. And lastly, you guys have created quite the team with the two of you working together, but please share also kind of your other key players involved that allow you to execute your acquisition and asset management strategy.
Yeah, thanks for asking, because there are definitely some other people that are important to this. I've got the relationships with a lot of the investors that we do business with. I've known them for a long time. I also want to have a third party that's going to be looking at and evaluating the transactions. A gentleman named Mike Blatney is on our staff, and what Mike does is he's an expert at establishing value. Mike has been a real estate investor himself for 40 years. He's a broker. He's a professional property evaluator. That's what he does for his career. He actually sits on the approval committee in the underwriting committee for two different hard money companies other than ours. And also he's the primary evaluation arm for that big franchise I told you about, Home Investors of America. So he has a tremendous amount of experience in valuing property. Mike looks at every single transaction that we do to make sure that it's something that we should do. We call him second eyes. He's our second set of eyes that looks at everything. We also have a key advisor, a gentleman named John Holman, who is also a longtime lender in his own right. He's done several thousand hard money loans like we're doing. And he's also been a real estate investor himself for a long time. So we use John as a sounding board, somebody that can give us guidance in particular strategies with our loans. So those two people are important on the evaluation and the selection side.
And then
Rip?
as far as the processing, we've got two people here that Karen and Gina that run the loan processing and the administration of it. So if you were to call the office, you're likely to get one of them on the phone for daily kind of activity that's going on with the company itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing better than a strong team
Right.
behind the firm. So it's great to hear about those players. But Mark and Britt, it was so wonderful speaking with you today and learning more about the Bedrock Fund. And we really look forward to continue to work together.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks.
absolutely. Have a good one.